Welcome to Northern Vibes, your go to podcast for everything Northern Denver.
From everything Denver to Fort Collins, we're your local real estate experts shining a light on the incredible quality of life in the area.
We're going to cover local businesses, attractions, events, and interviews with experts, all while educating and empowering you to understand why the Northern Denver area is the best place to be.
Amen, sister.
You bet.
Hi there, my name is Ann Wymore with Navigate Real Estate, and I'm here today as one of your hosts for Northern Vibes, your all things Northern Colorado. Today, my co-host is,
Wilson Miller with the Direct Lending Team, powered by Citywide Home Mortgage.
and we are so blessed to welcome Ricky Goodall to our podcast. Ricky, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Ann and Wilson. Nice to meet you both. Nice to be on the podcast. So my name is Ricky Goodall. I'm an entrepreneur, and I used to be a professional mixed martial arts fighter. I competed 21 times, sometimes for world championships and pay-per-view television. And I'm on a mission to help the world be more connected. During my fighting career, I realized that I was fighting for validation. I was fighting for approval and to feel like I was enough. And so I went from there to doing trauma healing and medicine work and different types of coaching, and realized that the number one issue in the world is disconnection. So my mission is to help the world be more connected by bringing people together so that we don't have to live in a world where we have to lock our doors at night.
That's huge. So tell us a little bit about how you're doing that.
Yeah, thank you. So in my fighting career, I was a nutrition coach, and I'd work with UFC fighters and world champions and all sorts of different gold medal athletes. And I realized the clients that struggled most with their nutrition usually had some kind of childhood trauma or conditioning or programming around nutrition that was holding them back, because they could eat the same food and train the same way as other athletes, but something was wrong. Something wasn't working. Now I know more about the gut, and there are lots of factors, but a lot of it was childhood trauma. So I started going into trauma work for myself and learning about my own past, and realized that my problems in my relationships in the present day were all manifestations of my childhood and things that I'd gone through. My parents were drug dealers when I was growing up, and I was in foster care and juvenile detention centers and homeless shelters and all sorts of stuff before the age of 10 years old. And I didn't realize in my adult years that all of that stuff was still impacting me, because I managed to create a life very different than the rest of my family. And so in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was feeling very alone and isolated. I was living in Nova Scotia, Canada. Things were locked down. And I eventually left and moved to Canada, or moved to Costa Rica and Mexico. And there was so much community there, even during this very difficult time in the world, that I realized that there was a dramatic difference between where I grew up in Nova Scotia and the way people connected there versus in places like Latin America, where connection and intimacy are a part of everyday life. So I started hosting an event called Conscious Intimacy Games, which was intended to be sort of like a sparring session for people in their relationships, except instead of sparring each other, you're sparring against your own ego. So the games are designed to show you the ways you show up in your relationships so you can be more accountable and more honest with yourself by showing you the reflections of yourself. So we can help people see how they communicate and how they create conflicts in their relationships, or how they withhold who they really are when they're in situations where they can show up as their true selves. And so these games are designed to kind of neurologically transform you by helping you create new neural pathways for when you show up in relationships and in certain situations. So they're sort of like a martial art for your relationships.
That's fascinating, man. So where are you doing this?
Well, my business is based out of Colorado, but I live all over the world. So we've had 60 events. We've had events in Mexico, Costa Rica, Canada, and the USA. We've had 10 retreats, and we've been running a community online now for a year and a half, where we do calls every week online by Zoom. So most of our clients are like psychologists and coaches and healers and leaders who believe this crazy idea that reality is like a reflection of us, and we can create our reality with our thoughts, words, and our actions. And that when we change how we see the world starts to change. And so these are leaders who are out there working with people on the front lines, but they don't have somewhere where they get space held for them. They don't have somewhere where they can show up, and they don't have to be strong all the time. So sometimes they're holding space for other people, and sometimes people are holding space for them. So these games are an even playing ground. So when I practice with everyone else, just like a student, just like my martial arts teachers would growing up. They wouldn't get out of training. They would train with us, beside us. They would bleed with us. They would get bruised with us. And so conscious intimacy games are designed in a similar way. Because I realize that there are three fundamental human needs that most people are not getting. It's need for connection, need for community, and a need for collaboration. And so martial arts gave me all three of these needs. I felt connected. I felt like I could show up for who I really am. I didn't have to wear masks. I didn't have to perform or try to please people. And I had community. I felt like I belonged in the community, and we were all part of something. And I was contributing in a way that mattered. I was doing something that really mattered to me. And when I left the martial arts world, I didn't have those needs met anymore. I didn't have a place where I could go and feel the same thing. So that's why we created Conscious Intimacy Games. I really just created it for myself. And it turned out that a lot of other people enjoyed it, and they kept asking for more.
That it is fascinating. I mean, I have some friends that are fighters too, and that he's constantly trying to drag me in there. He's like, just come in here. And he's in there twice a week. He's like, he talks about that community. It's great, the outlet. And then everybody
Yeah.
in there is the same, and we're all in this together type vibe he's giving me, I'm like always hesitant, I'm like, I don't know. But he's like, dude, just come in here, man. It's great. It's therapeutic.
Yeah, so that feeling, people get that when they come to our events. Because as soon as they arrive, the first thing they have to do is go in and find somebody they don't know with no leadership at all and tell them three things they don't want them to know. So I'd have to tell you three things I don't want you to know about me. Like that's your initiation to get into the door. Because you know what it's like when you're even thinking about going to a martial arts class, there's a physiological response. There's a real threat. There's a real threat
Yeah.
present. You got to get through that just to show up. And so the people that show up even to the first class, they have more likelihood to continue than somebody that never shows up, obviously. And then after that first class, what most people do is they train and then they think they know something and they don't come back again. And then if hopefully they never get put in a situation where they have to learn the lesson, but if they do, they realize one class isn't enough. And the same goes if you read a book like Nonviolent Communication, or you read a book like Radical Honesty, or you go to an authentic relating event. You learn these techniques, you learn how to communicate in a different way, but then when you're in conflict, you rely on your training, not your logical mind. So most people that are learning high-level relationship techniques like conflict resolution or negotiation skills or even sales skills, they're not actually practicing those skills anywhere. They're only practicing in real life situations. So the learning curve is actually much lower than it could be if they had a place to practice regularly. So if they had a place where they could express their truth or ask for what they want or set boundaries or negotiate for what they need and compromise with people. But there's nowhere in the world where you can practice this on a regular basis. So we've created this community where, again, we happen to attract coaches and leaders and CEOs and healers because they're the ones that need the practice and they're the ones that are actually willing to do the work. But again, the idea is like a martial arts class. So it's about repetition. It's about being in uncomfortable situations. It's about facing fears and facing ourselves. And martial arts has been the most confronting experience of my life. In my 16th fight, I got knocked out in front of thousands of fans, including my grandfather, who was blind, and he was there with my mom. It's like, I can't imagine what my mom had to tell him while I was knocked out. Like, that's a vulnerable thing for me to know. And I still don't even remember the next 30 minutes or so after that when I was talking in front of thousands of people. I don't remember any of that. Very vulnerable. So I tell myself that what's wrong with the world is we need more vulnerability. We need more leaders being really vulnerable, showing their true selves. And so that's what we've created is this place where you come and you get mirrors in front of your face for 3 hours or for 3 days, depending on the event.
Well, so tell us a little bit about your events.
Yeah, so we do 3 hour like our main events are 3 hours long. Like I say, we've done about 60 of those. And then we have our 3 to 6 day retreats. So at a 3 hour event, you get there and you don't know anyone. We say we meet at 5:55 to begin for 6 and then doors close at 6:30. So there's this 30-minute arrival window because in Mexico, where I've lived for 4 years, people don't tend to come to things on time. If either of you have ever, no, you probably know.
Mexican time. We've all been on
Yeah,
vacation
Mexico
there.
time. We've all been there. Yeah, exactly. So I had to create this arrival window. Otherwise, people wouldn't even come. So they would just come whenever they want to. And we have a hard close at 6:30. And in Mexico, people still come late, even though you say you're not getting in. So that there is the first boundary. Like if you like in martial arts class, you don't make up on time. You're either not coming in or you're doing push-ups or you're doing something else. You got to be there on time. So we have this strong boundary just to arrive. And so the first 90 minutes is talk-based games. So these might be strategies like, again, conflict resolution or learning how to ask for what you want in a way that encourages people to say yes, or how to say no in a way that lessens the chance of the other person feeling rejected, but still sets boundaries and and creates a clear yes or a no for the person. I've created so much suffering in my life by not saying no clearly, just kind of being like, oh, well, I'll think about it or maybe. And then there's all this energy being leaked all the time, this decision fatigue of just not saying no to something. So we practice saying no or different games like that. Some of them are like parts of me that need love, where I'm expressing like parts of my personality that need love and attention and connection. So it's 90 minutes of talk-based games, and then we shift into touch-based games. And so the touch-based games are something you could do with your mom or your sister or your brother, or if you did it with your intimate partner, you'd have a very different experience. They're bonding exercises that you could do with kids, but they're designed to go from anything just like eye gazing, looking each other in the eye, to like a prolonged hug, like a 3-minute hug, or holding the other person from behind and just breathing together. And the idea is that at some point in your childhood, early in your childhood, you had to make a decision between your two most important needs, which are authenticity and acceptance. So being who you are and belonging. And you had to make the choice between those two needs. We all made the same choice, and the choice was acceptance. We didn't think we could be ourselves. We cried too much, we complained too much, whatever, and we chose acceptance over authenticity. That created a disconnection from self. So that disconnection from self is where we're lacking wholeness, or we become insecurely attached in our relationships, or there's all sorts of ways that this manifests in our personalities as adults. So we're mimicking that by putting you in a situation where with the talk-based games, you're expressing your truth and you're expressing vulnerable things maybe you've never shared with anyone before at your level. You don't have to share anything you don't want. So you're stretching yourself, but you're not pulling a muscle. You're not going so far that you share something way beyond what's comfortable, but you're kind of uncomfortable. So talk-based games, and then you're getting your need for touch met afterwards. So there's no talk during the touch-based games. You're just being held. So the theory that we're working with that seems to be working is that you express your true self and you get your needs met, whereas in the past you express your true self and you got neglected. So we're kind of repatterning the nervous system. And what we've noticed is in myself and in our students is that when we're in situations like this right now, where in the past maybe I'd be nervous, I don't feel any nervousness. I don't feel butterflies anymore. I don't feel the physiological effects of the fear of rejection because I have that wholeness to a different level than I've had it before. So we're kind of trying to take the inner child healing work, which took me 15 years, probably took you guys years too if you've been on the path. It's like we want to speed that up and compress it, where in 3 hours, 30 people, 40 people show up. They don't know each other. They're from all walks of life. And by the end of the night, they're all cuddling on the floor. And maybe once in a while, someone will be off the side and they'll just have their foot in the cuddle puddle, or maybe they won't be touching at all. But for the most part, those people they feel so relaxed now and so accepted that they're willing to cuddle with strangers on the floor. And again, I've done this in Mexico, Costa Rica, Canada, the United States, Denver, California, other places. And so if I don't usually tell people that part because they won't come.
Right. It's
I would
intimidating.
tell you, I was like, I don't know
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like you can leave anytime. You can walk out the door if you don't want to. If you don't want to see, that's the idea. Is it's like there are boundaries once you're in there, but we don't try to keep you. Like if you want to leave, leave. We've had maybe in 60 events, maybe 10 people walk out halfway through, and I bet half of those people came back and even paid for retreats or paid for other training. It was just they were overstimulated because it's like there's a doctor that said we need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, 12 hugs a day to thrive. Raise your hands if you got 12 hugs today. Like I know I definitely didn't, right? So it's like it's not just an airy fairy idea. That's actually based on our neurology and our physiology. So if we don't have that, like we're kind of apes. We're like apes, and apes get their needs for connection met. They're around other apes. They cuddle, they connect, they touch. But human beings have evolved to be separate, which worked for us, but now is actually the thing that's holding us back. So we need to get those needs met to get to a place of thriving together.
I mean, that is so deep right now. For me, like I think a lot of it is doing figure out who we are until you're 40 fucking years old. You know what I mean?
I'm 41, dude. I hear you.
because of that validation, or what'd you call it? What's the need?
Yeah, acceptance and authenticity.
Acceptance, right? Because whatever. I'm a spaz, class clown, whatever. So I'm gonna drink and drug and try to take on a different persona for 30 years and then find out it's not me. I mean, I'm almost getting choked up over here. Like, God damn it. We should figure that out a lot earlier, man.
Yeah.
That's
And I
pretty
mean,
cool.
the good news is, Wilson, at least what I've learned on this path is that if I didn't snort all that cocaine and get in all those fights and cheat on all those girlfriends and have all those affairs with people who are in relationships, if I didn't do all that stuff, and I did a lot of that stuff, then I wouldn't be in the position to provide value to people that I now support and lead. Because I tell myself that I study different spiritual systems, and especially Kabbalah. It's the main one that I've been studying for the last 10 years. And there's all sorts of different ways to perceive it. But the way I perceive it is your pain from your past is actually the foundation for your purpose, is the idea. And that our purpose is really simple. It's tikkun olam is the Hebrew term, which means repairing the world. So how are you most designed with your unique gifts and talents to elevate humanity? That's your purpose. So it's like, for me, my unique gifts and talents are manifestations of all that stuff I did. It's a manifestation of all the drugs and all the fighting and all the things that I did, because now I'm talented at things like facing fears that required the same courage I needed to use drugs or to get in the cage. I can now use to face my fear of rejection, or to face my fear of failure, or face other fears. So it's like the story, and I've been through that story too. It's like, man, I wasted all this time trying to figure out who I am. It's like, actually, that was the foundation. It's like, if I have an oak seed in my hand right now, and I could yell at it and be like, "You're not an oak tree. You're just a loser. You're just an oak seed. That's all you are." But it's like, that's the oak tree becoming. And if I look at this from a bigger perspective, like, if I'm not really Ricky Goodall, that's just an identity. It's just a character I created. I just created it to fit in. It's just this illusion that I created. Who I really am, I tell myself, is God, creator, universe, consciousness, pretending to be Ricky Goodall. And when I live life as Ricky, I'm limited by his stories and his beliefs and his fears. But when I recognize that I'm the self, the being beneath that mask and character, then I become Roger Bannister and I break the 4 minute mile, or I achieve things that nobody else has achieved. So then even my story becomes part of that greater story, greater part of my hero's journey.
I'm just emotional over here. It's pretty damn deep.
And I think I'll take
It's too exactly what I've gone through my whole life. It's just the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
past as you, pretty similar anyway. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And you gotta say something at this point.
Okay. Well, Ricky, tell me a little bit
Uh,
about how people hear about you, hear about the events. Tell me a little bit about how do we get the word out about you? Like, I know you were saying you do some events and you do them everywhere. And like right now you're located in Colorado, but how does the average person hear about this? And how do you take away like the mm, I don't know the right word. How do you
Stigma.
like honestly, like to me, like Wilson's all choked up over here, and I'm just like putting like the shell going, oh, cuddle hut, like that kind of like, even though it sounds really good, it's one of those things where, a lot of people fight in intimacy and they don't want to do that. So I guess it's two questions. How do you get the word out about your events, about what you do, and where do people hear about you, and how can we talk to people about what you offer? And then how do you jump the hurdle of like that intimacy connecting? Because like what I'm hearing is events, it could be like 30 people, and getting intimate in a setting with 30 people. I'd love to hear about how you do that.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. So first of all, I want to break down the name. So conscious intimacy games, conscious means awake and aware. And intimacy means to know one's true self and the true selves of others. So conscious intimacy games are games that help you become awake and aware of who you really are and who other people really are. So whether it's just our talk-based games, which happen online by Zoom, which is where some people start with us, it's just talk-based games. It's not like you're in a room cuddling with other people. You're on a Zoom call, or coming to the actual event. It's all about that. It's all about getting connected with who you are deep inside. So if that means you come for half the event and you say, "I'm not down for that touch stuff, that's not for me," great. That's okay. You play, it's like medicine. You take as much medicine as you need. You don't take as much as everyone else is taking, because maybe you don't need as much as everyone else. So it's the medicine's based on what you need. I tend to travel around. So I've been nomadic for the last 4 years. I'm going to set up a home base in Austin. And we also have our business originally registered in Colorado for different reasons, because Colorado is amazing. There's so much incredible medicine work happening there, and so open-minded and everything too. And we have facilitators being trained there right now who will be leading events when I'm not there. The easiest way to find me is I'm on Instagram. It's just I am the higher self on Instagram. So that's my personal profile. I put a lot of videos up there on all different topics, ranging from relationships to spirituality and esoteric wisdom and everything in between. But our actual company page is consciousintimacygames.com. Our events page is consciousintimacygames.com/events. That's where you can see our upcoming events. Right now, we don't have anything on the event calendar until October, when we're going to be in Austin, but we have our online events on there. Also, our Instagram for conscious intimacy games is just conscious.intimacy.games. We have content on there as well, different videos ranging from how to show up in romantic relationships to professional relationships and everything in between as well. So we've got our academy, our online community is really how most people stay in touch with us. That's how most of our members connect with us. We've got a community, I think it's 30 of us now from different parts of the world that come together and practice every week online by Zoom on Mondays. People typically come 2 to 3 times per month. They don't come every call. And in those calls, it's 2 hours of practicing advanced talk-based conscious intimacy games. It's like one game could be your boldest truth. So imagine you have a microphone in front of you and the whole world is listening and you have 5 minutes to share. And what do you want the world to know? So that's an opportunity for you to share in front of the group or in front of one person. And the other person's just holding space for you. They're not commenting on what you say. They're not responding to you. They're not reflecting anything unless the game calls for it. They're just a space holder. They're just a witness so that you have a chance. Like, let's say your boldest truth is actually towards your mother about the way that you were treated as a child. Maybe that's what you're going to use that 5 minutes for. Or maybe it's a forgiveness conversation. Or maybe it's you making amends and that's what you're practicing. So we have different games that are like that are more based on expressing your truth. Then other games are like facts and feelings, where we're going to practice saying, when my mom was late, I felt angry. Instead of, when my mom was late, I felt like she doesn't care about me. Because that's not a feeling. I felt like she doesn't care about me is not a feeling. That's a story. And sometimes I believe the stories in my head as if they're reality and they create a lot of pain for me. So we practice disconnecting from the illusionary stories and what's objective reality. And we rep it just like a martial arts technique where we're doing it for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So we're really getting connected back to our bodies and out of our head. So they're kind of like psychological rituals in a way that are designed to repattern the nervous system in the brain so that when you're in that situation in the future, like a martial arts class, you have the techniques and the habits to draw from so that you know what to say when you need to say it.
I think another one part of that, Ann, is just like the gym for us, just walking through the door.
Exactly.
That is
Just
your
showing
first
up.
fear.
Just showing up. Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
showing up. You don't have to get into the story of the cuddle games ahead of time. That's just anxiety, fear of
Yeah.
the unknown or something that's not even real yet. You just walk through the
Yeah.
door and I don't know, I'm just kind of choked up because I mean, I had to figure all this out on my own over 30 years, and I wish I wouldn't have ruined so many relationships and so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
time and wasted so much potential. And that's what I kill myself with nowadays.
Yeah. Can you
I
imagine that?
kill myself with that.
Well, imagine this, Wilson. You were born into a family, a community, and a society that did not give you the tools to get your needs met in those relationships, or to know how to show up in those relationships in a way that created what you need. Like you didn't fail those relationships. Your family, community, and society failed you in a way, and it's not their fault either because they had no one to draw from. It's like if we were to blame people before the airplane was invented that they weren't flying. It's like blaming them. It's like saying, "Oh, you're an idiot. You didn't know how to fly." It's like, no, we didn't know how to fly yet. That's the problem. It's not that you and I didn't, that we've messed those relationships up. Yeah, I've been verbally abusive in relationships. I've been controlling and manipulative. I've done all sorts of things, broken boundaries. All of that was me using strategies that were trained in my childhood from watching my parents and their domestic violence, television and movies, and seeing the messed up ways that the media is trying to convince us that men and women and people should be in relationships. It's just completely dysfunctional. Now I watch it, I cringe watching movies now because I'm like, oh God, like I can't believe they're talking that way to each other, like literally interrupting each other constantly on movies and interrupting each other and giving advice without permission and like being controlling and manipulative and codependent. And we're just fed that garbage constantly. So how could we ever have gotten it right? That's the most important thing we learn at these games. Is like, we couldn't have gotten it right. We couldn't have gotten it right. So that's the challenging part. It's like, it's not the how am I ever going to forgive myself? It's like, you don't get it. You don't get it. There's nothing to forgive. You still have to go through the process. Don't get me wrong. And I've had to confess everything and make amends to everyone, but it was never my fault though. It's just a
Well, that's
process.
that's the last thing I thought people could that's how my family communicates.
Yeah, exactly.
We
Exactly.
overtalk, we
Yeah.
yell, we hug, we still love, but it's being raised by alcoholic too, it's like, but my defense mechanisms I have now that I still use, or my anger, I'll still pop off or whatever. The therapist after years finally figured it out. It's like that doesn't serve you anymore. You were doing that out of survival. I had
Yeah.
that tough candy shell, drug dealing, this and that, and this, and acting tough, and really not that guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's just so painful to look back and see that, though, for me. It's tough. Like,
Yeah.
why did I waste damn near my whole life? And
Yeah.
I think that's what kills me. And
Can I
then
tell you?
the self-talk. She's like, have you heard yourself talk about yourself? I'm like, I'm a piece of shit. I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, go ask 10 people around you hang out with regularly. I doubt they say that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm a piece of shit, and this is my defense mechanism, and I don't trust any of you, and I'm gonna fly off the handle if I have to get defensive and put on. I called it my tough candy shell
Yeah.
with the
Can I
with
tell?
the with the
Can
chocolate in the middle. Like,
the
why do I
soft
have
nugget in the
that?
middle? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't
I
know,
mean,
man. That just really hits home, dude.
can
Wow.
I tell? Can I tell you a game that I would give you if you were at one of our events right now?
Well,
Oh,
yeah, and
I'd
I'm
love to
definitely
hear
gonna look
one.
you up after this.
Well, you know that story you just told me about, like I'm the piece of shit story. I tell myself that, I've done a lot of coaching with all sorts of different people, and we tell ourselves a lot of stories for a lot of reasons. And I would imagine what I would do is I would get for 3 minutes, I would set a timer and I would say, Wilson, I want you to tell me all the ways that you're benefiting from that story. Like all the ways that story is serving you, that it's letting you play small, it's letting you take too much on your plate, it's letting you avoid rejection, it's letting you avoid failure, it's letting you do all these things that it's like, it's easier for me to actually just believe I'm a piece of shit than to believe that I'm incredible, because then I wouldn't be able to hide behind my fucking stories anymore. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do is I would kill for 3 minutes. Yeah, I apologize for the language, but
No, no,
for
no.
drama, yeah, for drama, right? It's to break those patterns, because those patterns, I tell myself, like, imagine that the perfect world is a jigsaw puzzle. This is a Kabbalistic teaching. Imagine it's a jigsaw puzzle and every single piece is important to that puzzle. Like for us to create the world where we're all connected, we're all prosperous, we can raise our kids in a safe world. We don't have to lock our doors at night. We don't have to wait in security at the airport. We don't have to put passwords on our phones and computers. That world is available to us. It's really available to us. And for us to create that world, we have to get connected to who we really are. We have to get connected to the true self inside. So the secret, I tell myself, is for all of us to recognize, first of all, that we're part of this big jigsaw puzzle and we all have a unique shape. But most people are trying to be circles and squares like everyone else, and they're not actually finding their unique shape. So two things are happening. One, they're miserable. They're miserable because they're not living an authentic life. So they're chronic pain, illness, addiction, all sorts of distractions. And they're not able to find the pieces that they fit in with. They're not able to find their tribe. Because think about a jigsaw puzzle, right? You have your immediate circle, then you have the rest. Well, they can't even find their immediate circle because they're too busy trying to be squares and circles. So they need to find their immediate group by being themselves, and that creates polarity and rejection and repulsion and all sorts of things. So when you start being yourself, people tend to get mad because they're like, you fucking lied to me all this time. You're not being who you
Yeah.
really are. So when we find that true shape, who we really are, that true part of ourselves, everything changes after that, because then we're accepted even before people know who we are, because it's something that's internally generated.
So, I mean, I like this for our listeners too, because this is the whole podcast consuming, success and entrepreneurship, and we're both in sales, and all of this, all of that therapy and all of this self-betterment, it goes hand in hand with all of that. The stresses, the ebbs, the flows, and the authenticity. But this year alone, myself and one of my realtor friends, we're like, because we're both wild. I mean, I say shit that's not appropriate all the time. I'm just myself. I'm genuine to a certain degree, but it's hard to find other genuine people. Therefore, I've always felt like an outsider, right? Finding that tribe. But then this year alone, like again, this year at 45 years old, we were like, screw it, man. There's enough people in the business. There's enough people to make money from. I am not sugarcoating shit anymore. And I'm just going to be myself. And then it takes away the stress, the anxiety, and you end up making more money, get more business, or having more respect. It's wild. Like saying no, or saying that's not for me, or I don't need that deal, or I'm not kissing your ass, or I'm not doing this or that. It's I don't know, it's powerful.
Saying no creates space for more yeses in my
Just
life.
being authentic, like
Yeah.
truly authentic instead of just trying to blend in all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's been a painful part, like always trying to blend in.
It's
Ew.
exhausting. It's exhausting.
It's
Can't
exhausting,
it's
man.
literally, it's not even achievable. First of all, it's an unrealistic goal. And high achievers, really truly high performers, we know which goals to take on and which ones to say no to. And being a perfectionist and always being on and always performing and always wearing a mask, not possible. Not possible. No one can do it. No one could do it.
And
It
even if
leads.
you are doing it, on the externally, you're falling apart internally.
Yeah, you can do it for a while, but then something happens. I see it time and again with my clients. I know we're running out of time, but when I say for the listeners, like I see it time and again. It's happened to me countless times until I woke up to it. That when we live in an authentic life, the universe at first it'll throw like a pebble at me. It's like, what the hell was that? And then it's like a rock comes. Rock's a little harder, hurts a little more. Not enough for me to change though. Then a brick comes, and pray to God that I receive the brick humbly and I change my ways, because if not, then a boulder comes. And that can mean hospitalization or a death of someone I really care about, or some kind of. For me, my father passing away 3 years ago, he passed away of a drug addiction, a heart attack from using crack cocaine, and it shook my world. I was supposed to hang out with him that day, and I blew him off and canceled on him, and then he went and used drugs, and I was like, I do this in my relationships. I disconnect, I isolate, I pull away. So if we don't wake up, don't worry, the universe will wake us up eventually, but carrying that inauthentic mask is too heavy for anyone. And I tell myself that whether it's in this life or the next, or in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, most of us will get there eventually, where we're like, I can't carry this mask anymore. I just have to be myself. And then it's like the gates of the heavenly kingdom open for all of us at that point. And then the beauty that we find inside of ourselves reflects back in the world around us, as within, so without. And that's it. I think that's the secret of the spiritual path.
And I'll apologize to all listeners, as I just use this as my personal therapy session for the last 30 minutes.
All good, man.
Thanks for your patience with me,
Yeah,
Ann.
yeah, likewise.
I am learning a ton. I just am not as vocal as you, Wilson.
I know. Well, like traditional therapy too. Like I'm in AA, did all of it, bro. And it's like, I like the AA setting because everybody's there in a similar tribe, right? And they give you that space to say your piece, and there's no judgment, and
Yeah.
there's rooms or whatever. But what was I gonna say now? I forgot.
You know,
Oh, the repetition of the self-talk or the touch or the repetition. Going into this talk therapy, I can talk my way through there and then they become my best friend. They're telling me yes, they're laughing at my jokes. I'm like, I didn't come here for you to agree with me.
mhm.
I came here for you to tell me what I need to do to fix this. So didn't get much out of it.
Yeah,
And I think what you're saying, and just the small repetition, the easy one step at a time, the all of that I feel like is more productive than sitting there and blasting about your past and you're the only one talking for an hour. And yeah, you
yeah,
might feel a little better when you walk out of there, but you haven't trained your brain to do anything differently
that's right.
necessarily. Now, don't get me wrong, over years, yeah, it can work and it can work for a lot of people, but for me, I want step one, two, three. I need more repetition. If I'm ruminating all day long, cool. For 1 week, 1 day a week, I'm in there blathering for an hour. She doesn't say anything but agrees with me. I'm like, okay, well, how do I fix this psychopath? What are we doing here?
What with
They
this
don't have
this
any.
machine that's out of control, this monkey that just like has so many
Ah,
personalities and so many different parts. Yeah, it's like that's a reality. And the challenging with therapy is that it's usually focused on the past and it usually stays there. And with the work that we do, it needs to be focused on the results in the future and there needs to be change. And the difference is therapy is usually talking all about my story, and in the work that we do, it's about changing the story and changing the identity. And when that
and that's
changes,
it.
yeah,
That's
everything
it, man.
changes.
I was
Yeah.
talking to my dad the other day. He's an alcoholic for years. He's been sober for like 30 years now, but he's still stuck in that I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, but he still flips out like a little baby, can't have a conversation with the family. He's so like not self-bettered, but because it is so focused on the past. It's a conversation I just had 2 days ago with my mom. I'm like, how helpful is it? It's helpful to identify. I feel it's helpful to understand where you come from, but that comment, those defense mechanisms don't serve you anymore. Stop that story. You're not that story anymore. You've
Yeah.
evolved. And that's what I'm guilty of, is that story. I still see myself as a 25-year-old degenerate.
For now.
Hey, maybe I'm just a 45-year-old degenerate.
So you were saying, Ricky, that there's like Zoom classes and different things like that that people are hopping on to once a week, once a month. So tell us a little bit about that, about the way people can get to see you more often than your events or to join that online community.
Yeah, so we call it Conscious Intimacy Academy. And so it's sort of like a multi-dimensional training center. So we are online and in person. And it's like a multi-dimensional training center for mixed magical artists, people that are paving the way to a new world, people that are practicing together. So we're like, unlike therapy, where again, we're just talking and someone's just listening and maybe they're saying what we want. We have real reflections from each other. We have real games that are confronting and actually helping us realize the unspoken expectations we have in relationships, or the ways that we hold ourselves back and judge ourselves through others. So that's, if you go to consciousintimacy.com/academy, can learn more about the academy. We're about to relaunch our website in about 3 weeks or so after this. Today's September 9th when we're recording, so in about 3 weeks from now we're going to relaunch. But you can
Oh,
learn about it
awesome.
there now too. Yeah, we've been running it for a year and a half, and it's been amazing. And we've got students in Europe and Canada and US and Mexico and all sorts of places that are practicing together. So we do calls every week on Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to be adding another call at the end of September as well. We do monthly group coaching calls as well, large group coaching calls for the community, where I'm coaching 3 or 4 or 5 different people on the call. And then we have other programs too, like our facilitator trainings or our coaching programs that are all based on customized for the individual. But the academy is the main place that we gather and stay connected. And then we have a private WhatsApp group. So our members are challenged to connect with each other outside of the calls, play games outside of the calls too. And we also have our card deck, which will be released probably in the next about 4 weeks. We're waiting for it to come from China. So this is 25 talk and touch based games that we play in the academy on these calls every Monday.
Could you send me an email with all of that? Because I don't
Yeah.
have the only ones I have are Instagram and Facebook. I don't believe that I have all of the other ones that you gave us during the.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I think I filled out twice or something because I had to reschedule. So it's very
Yeah,
possible.
so
Yeah.
we can share those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you could send that to me, like even just respond to the email that you sent, because all of the things that you're saying are so very important. And I see so many great, like I said, honestly, I was a little bit nervous because the mixed magical artist, I was like, okay, who
Yeah,
are
she's like,
we?
this is gonna be interesting.
I was like, this one is going to be interesting, Wilson. Like, I'm reading it and I don't get it. And honestly, Ricky, I tell Wilson every single time we talk to someone, I'm like, I'm so glad we did that interview. I learned so much. And Wilson's like, Anne, you got to stop. You can't go to everything
Oh
and
yeah,
give
she
me
has to do everything.
everything. But I like it's just amazing some of the things like we hold on to these stories that we learned when we were younger. We hold on to them and they're our stories forever. And honestly, just hearing the game that you're like, okay, well, like this is the game I would have you play. I was like, dang, how many excuses do I make because I live behind a story that's 20 years old?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
But
man.
we don't
and
see it
and
that way.
well, yeah, and we actually don't even see it either because they're unconscious stories most of the time. So the
Yeah.
challenge is that we don't know the story exists until it's reflected to us from someone else. So the games are designed to draw out the stories and reflect and show you them. So you're put in a position where you get to say those stories, you get to share those stories. Because, like, think about all your suffering, whether it's in relationships or finances or health or whatever it is, it's based on 2 simple concepts: our stories and our strategies. It's the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and the strategies we use based on those stories. So if I think that the only way I'm going to get money is through crime, then that's my belief. And so my strategies are to
Crime
steal
based.
or yeah, crime based. So once I change the stories and I change the strategies, most people just try to change their stories, but they're not practicing living a different person. They're not practicing like Muhammad Ali said his real name was Cassius Clay. Muhammad Ali was an identity he created. And he said, I am the greatest. I said that before I ever knew I was. So he started telling himself that he was the greatest when he was 16 years old. Every time he would run in the morning, he would just repeat it to himself. And it took him 20 years, but he eventually believed it and became the world's greatest champion to ever live. So it doesn't matter what story we tell ourselves. The story will come true if we tell ourselves the story. And the strategies will reinforce the story, and the story will reinforce the strategies. So if we don't change both of those things, nothing actually changes. We stay stuck.
Oh,
Ricky,
I
you've
mean,
just been
I gotta do
amazing
some
to
work.
interview. I can't wait to like go check out all that you've just thrown out at us because it is seriously amazing. Like
Thank you.
just I feel like I've become a better person in the 30 minutes. So I don't know if that, I mean, I don't know if I'll leave my doors unlocked yet, but I will tell you that I've always wanted to be the person that, like, when you came into a room, people smiled. And I want you to know, like, you've created me, helped me smile today, because, like, that a lot of what you said really resonated. And I think it resonates for a lot of people.
Thank you. I appreciate you for the
Yeah,
reflection.
whether they're honest enough to admit it or not, you know what I mean? It definitely does. Probably with most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know?
I'm going to sign us off and then we can keep talking. So thank
Sure.
you so much for joining us. This is Anne with Navigate Realty and
Wilson Miller with Direct Lending Team, and that's powered by Citywide Home Mortgage.
Ricky. You want to talk a little bit, signing off for
Yeah, give us all your contacts and repeat your
everything.
business and all that.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So my name is Ricky Goodall. My personal Instagram is I am the higher self. Check it out. I have lots of content on there about my spiritual views, my relationship views. Check out my Instagram for conscious intimacy games. It's just conscious.intimacy.games. And check out our website, consciousintimacygames.com.
And as soon as Ricky gets those game cards and everything out, we'll make sure we put that on our Facebook page so everyone has a link, because I'm ready to play some of those.
I'll do
Thank
them with
you
you.
so much.
Thanks for listening. This is Ann Wymore with Navigate Realty. And if you missed important information from this episode, check us out on Facebook at Northern Vibes Colorado.
And this is Wilson Miller with Source Mortgage Group. Also follow us on YouTube at Northern Vibes CO.